All right. So here we go. Let's say we have a water spider. And it's just floating in the water, bobbing up and down, creating ripples. Okay. Now, if you were an observer, if you're an observer here, you would just like boom. Oh. If you're an observer, you would have those water waves would hit you, bump, 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 bump. Okay. Concentric circles going out at the same speed. Okay. Speed of water waves. But now let's say we get that source, that water spider moving. Okay. So now we see, okay, ladies and gentlemen over on that side, I need you to cease your conversation. It's getting to get point where it's distracting to other people. If you mess yourself up, that's fine. That's when you're distracting others. That's when it. Okay. So if you are an observer here, you're going to, but then as it, how do you describe that? If it, as it approaches you, like what was the difference there? Okay, so try to use different than slower. I know what you're saying. What was it? The number decreased? Closer, Ben? Yes, the frequency decreased. You good with that? Here, here, the frequency is actually more increased than it was just a stationary thing. Okay? If we're talking about sound waves, what do we perceive? How do we perceive frequency? Like a higher frequency. What is? How do we hear that? Higher pitch. And lower frequency, we get a lower pitch. Okay? So if you're note taking type people, that's what you want to say. What happens is the frequency as the source is moving towards you, higher frequency, and therefore you hear a higher pitch. As it's moving away from you, have a lower frequency, therefore you hear a lower pitch. Okay, good with that. All right, here are some audio demonstrations. Okay, now as it passes, okay, first off, let me just throw this out. It is getting louder as it gets closer, but that is not Doppler effect. That is just the fact that you're closer, the source of the sound is closer, there's a higher intensity. Okay, not Doppler effect. It's still loud right here as it's passing you. It's going to get quieter as it's further away just because of the distance. But it's the change in pitch. Okay, If you've ever been to a race car, just seen videos of race car tracks, that Doppler effect. Okay. Now, this one's cool. If you can keep a beat, so not only does the frequency decrease, but the tempo also slows down. Crazy, yeah? So if you're on like a, well, yeah. So the reason why is because the waves, as they like, the waves just hit you less frequently. You know that? All right. Tell your neighbor. Correct answer is B, Buster Brown. Next question. Correct answer is C. Ben, great question. Um, they're tighter together here. Tell your neighbor. Correct answer is. Correct answer is Buster Brown yet again. All right. So here we're going like 40% the speed of the wave. Now we're gonna go 60-ish percent. See how they're closer together, is tighter. Okay, so the faster it is, the more apparent that the difference between the high low pitch. Okay. So that sound is. Tell your neighbor. Okay. Correct answer is. Correct answer is crazy cats. Okay. Okay. So if the whistle normally was this, going away from you at a certain speed, it'd be. But because it's speeding up, it's getting lower. Does that make sense? Okay. No? Speeding up because of free fall. So the faster it goes, the more apparent that effect is. So the bigger the difference between high and low is going away from you. So the frequency is hitting you less frequent. Are we on the plane? Oh, we're on the plane. Oh, did that not say that? When recorded from the plane as the bomb fell. Does that make sense? We're in the microphone's on the plane. All right. Now the microphone's on the ground. Tell your neighbor. Correct answer is C. Crazy cats. Okay. So think about it in terms of like, which is more psychologically terrifying, though. Okay. Forgot to do this demonstration. I know.
Oh, mic'd up back here. Yep. Don't say anything you regret. Oh! Doppler effect. Oh, I have that one. Oh! I have that one. Yeah. Keep your up. Shoot me. Shoot me. Try to shoot me. Shoot up. It has to go by you here. Shoot up. Oh. Shoot him. Hear it? All right. Next question. I'll make a whistle. You ready? I didn't make you listen. I had this one, and I think it bounced off of every wall, and that thing hurt. That thing hurt really bad.
Okay, I just can't breathe.
Tell your neighbor. Okay. Here's the answer.
You may have noticed that while driving your car past a loud source of music, you can hear the pitch of the music changing, higher on the way toward the sound source and lower as you move away. This is one example of the Doppler effect.
Have a seat
We
at
can
one of the lab
illustrate this
tables.
example with a quick schematic animation where a 400 hertz sound source is stationary. So we see waves radiating away from this source as concentric circles, and we see the location of a listener, and the listener is hearing the 400 hertz waves as they arrive. Now the listener starts approaching the source. On the way toward the source, the listener runs into wave crests at a faster pace, leading to a higher frequency of 420 hertz. The listener pauses for a bit, and we're back to 400 hertz. Finally, while moving away from the source, the wave fronts hit the listener at a slower pace, leading to a lower perceived frequency of 380 hertz. This phenomenon is what we'll call the moving listener case of the Doppler effect in this.
Okay. So here it is, an actual demonstration.
If the sound source is stationary and the observer is moving, as the observer moves toward the stationary sound source, the observed wavelength is still decreased, and therefore the observed frequency is still increased. And the reverse is true as the observer moves away from the stationary sound source. Thank you.
Good? No? Okay. So, what would happen if the source of the wave was moving at the same speed that the wave could travel through the medium? Same speed. So, here's how fast the water waves are going for like the water spider. If we're able to get that water spider moving at that same speed, it's able to keep up with all of the waves that it has created in the past. And so what you get are these overlapping waves. What happens when waves are overlapping? You get what's called interference, constructive interference. Okay? Now, what would happen if you went faster than the waves? You are surpassing the waves that you've created in the past. When we're talking about water waves in a boat, what do we call this? The wake. When you enter, when you go to a marina or a dock, what is the area called around there? No wake zone. What do you have to do to not make a wake? Go slow. How slow? Slower than the water waves can travel through the medium. Because if you're going faster than the water waves can travel, then you get this constructive interference. You get this wake. A wake, the big bump, the big wake. Okay, so if you've never been in a boat, I'm assuming you've been by the water at some point, and a boat has passed by, and the boat creates these bigger waves that reach the shore at some point in time. Thanks, sir. Okay, that's the wake. Okay. Now, what happens to the wake as you travel faster? The V gets more shallow. Like it gets more narrow. That makes sense. Like think about like going really fast in a motorboat. Like the V isn't as I lost. I lost you. It gets okay here. This is this V is pretty wide. As you get faster, this V gets narrower, and then here's like get good.
So would that be like weaker? So the faster you go, this would get weaker.
No, it doesn't get weaker. It's just that pattern is narrow. It spreads out over time. Like it'll it'll end up. It's not weaker. It's just the formation it makes is more narrow. Carolyn.
So what happens once the same speed?
Same speed. It's just it's kind of a wave front that's just really big. Okay.
So like in a jet, is the vapor cloud just
Hang on to that thought. That's a great question. So if we have if we go faster than the speed of sound. Oh, hold on. You gotta get this full effect. Okay. So, couple things. Um, couple things. Number one, I am the the videos of the jets going on the beach were not breaking the sound barrier. Guaranteed. The reason I know that is because it's illegal for jets to go supersonic. That means faster than the speed of sound, break the sound barrier over civilian airspace. Okay. Um, why? Because so Back around 9/11, just after that, the Air Force was flying routine defensive maneuvers around big cities. And there was this unidentified airplane near Chicago, and two fighter jets went supersonic, meaning faster than the speed of sound, over suburbia, Chicago, and blew out windows because of this wake that they made of sound. So a sound wave, constructive interference, is just high pressure, low pressure, like huge high pressure, low pressure. It's the same thing, the same effect as a shock wave from an explosion. It's just high pressure, low pressure, and just blew out windows on houses. So like it's illegal to do that. I know, like that's that. Um, yeah, it is super cool. So what is this cone thing? Does anybody have a water bottle that they're okay donating to science? Like you're not going to get it back. Anybody? A water, like sorry, a plastic cheap. Yeah, or I'll just dump it out. I don't care. Okay. Okay. So you're aware of this trick? Like did this all in middle school. You've seen other people do it in middle school. Okay. Now watch. I'm gonna not do it towards the door. Okay. Watch the bottle. We know what the cap does. Look at the bottle. Okay. What happens is it started high pressure, and then all of a sudden it went to low pressure really fast. When that happens, the water vapor in the air condenses to a cloud. And so you get it condensates, okay, forming a cloud. Okay. This happens every time a jet flies. Well, not every time, but like a lot of times. As you look up in the air, you see a jet fly overhead and it has that vapor trail. That's not smoke from the exhaust. That's clouds being formed. If you've ever sat on the like a wing seat looking out, you can see the vapor trail being made off the winglets. Okay, it's not smoke. That's just when it goes from high pressure to low pressure, and it creates those clouds. Good with that?
Sorry, I'm not sure the answer to this, but they're making like a hygiene or something.
Mhm.
How can you see it coming off like the tips or the back of the wings? Yeah.
So any surface is going to have this where there's a build up and like it's pushing air, like it's not perfectly smooth. Like here, um, coming off of this is kind of like how you draft somebody or like draft a semi. You shouldn't do this, but because you're tailgating, but there's a certain um, space, a pocket of air behind the semi that wind doesn't affect you. Like you're behind it. The truck is protecting you. The truck has to push all this still air away, and if you can get right behind it, you actually like increase your gas efficiency because you're drafting it. Or if you've ever run on a windy day, sticking right behind somebody like on track, you can draft them. Or you'll see cyclists do this all the time. They'll get behind, they'll get in a line. That's why geese fly in a V formation. They're drafting the people. Okay. Um, these surfaces right here go from high pressure to low pressure. This is like the draft. There's a little pocket of air right there, and that's where the cloud's made. Okay, cool with that. So the those footages from the aircraft carrier, they might be going faster than the speed of sound. But here is back in like the late 1900s, they had the supersonic jet called the Concorde that would go from Europe to America, and it would take like, I don't know, making this up, an hour to go across, but it's like just crazy fast. Um, and so this footage was made, it was taken from a boat in the Atlantic Ocean with the Concorde flying overhead. Okay. And I want you to listen, see how far away, you have your labs as well. See how far away that jet is? Just a dot. Okay. And listen. That's how big the boom was. Okay. If people are on the beach watching, like, it wouldn't be like, whoa, it'd be like, what happened? Like, they'd just be leveled. Okay. Hear that? Say it again. Oh, good question. So, from the pilot's perspective, what is the pilot here? From what I understand, just from reading stuff, it's super turbulent coming up to that point. But like once you surpass the speed of sound, then it gets smooth. Just like, because you're like you're going faster than the sound waves that you're producing, and so it gets quieter, like a lot quieter. You can still, the air inside the canopy is stationary relative to you. So sound like if you talk to your buddy, co-pilot, that wouldn't be affected. But outside, it gets quieter from what I gathered. Never tried it. It'd be cool. Okay. So here's some other misconceptions. Number one, breaking the sound barrier is not like busting through this layer of saran wrap. You're like, got it. Okay. This sonic boom is perpetual. It's kind of like how a boat continues to make a wake. It isn't like it just makes a wake and then it's done. It's continual. A jet makes a cone because it's three-dimensional. Sound waves go out. Okay. And so here, this, if a person was, an observer was sitting here, they would experience a boom right here. This guy had already, someone right here had already experienced a boom. Here, they haven't experienced a boom, but they will, given like in a second or two. Okay. They don't hear anything at this point. Now, just because you can see a jet in the air and haven't, you don't hear it yet, but like in a couple seconds you do hear it, does not mean it's traveling faster than the speed of sound. It just means it's really far away and it takes a while for sound to travel that distance. So you'll see it before you hear it. Good with that? So I just saw, this is something like they're creating, so this boom, it's rough. Like if you're asking for like air cover, like in a military like attack or something, and you want suppressing air fire, and you had a jet go supersonic over like tanks and stuff, and like you just decimate your whole army as they go by. They're working on, I think they've got some working prototypes of jets that go faster than the speed of sound, but have a really low profile, so they produce a really small sonic boom. So they can like go super fast near the ground without like causing damage. It's kind of like the next generation of jets. Okay. So this idea of like the sonic boom, you just have this high pressure, low pressure. This is the same thing that happens with explosions. So got some videos of some explosions. You can see right here this ripple. Did you see that? Okay, that's the shock wave. Okay. Now, the next series of videos is slow motion of, nope, you saw that already. Slow motion of explosions going off. You see this pressure wave here. Okay, this is known as shock wave or concussion wave. So if you're here, obviously you're incinerated. Um, but this is the part that knocks over buildings. This is the part that does most of the damage. You see that that shock wave? Okay, this is just high pressure, low pressure. It's able to knock stuff over. So this is a volcano that erupted. Um, and you can see how it changes. Do you see how it changed like at high pressure, low pressure? It created clouds. Okay, just so you can see that again. See, watch how the atmosphere changes right there.
Watch out for the shock's coming.
Okay. And then this is some footage from like the atomic bomb testing. So you get the high pressure, or sorry, low pressure. You see all the smoke coming, and then so it's the low pressure causes the smoke to come out, and then it gets hit. Here it's also like burning it, the heat, and then okay. So we've created cars that go faster than the speed of sound. Um, so I mean, you wouldn't necessarily want to drive this to Kroger or Payless or something. Um, but do you see the shock waves coming off of this? Okay. Um, so they drive these in the salt flats in Utah, just vast expanse of flatness, and so that's where. So what is the first man-made thing that traveled or went faster than the speed of sound? Turns out to be a whip.
What? Bro, Indiana Jones, Indiana Smiley,
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Smiley.
Okay. So okay, so when you get this, so cool. That was a sonic boom. Okay. So the speed of this thing went faster. See that? Okay, get a context. The end of this thing went faster than the speed of sound and created its own little sonic boom. That was the crack. So if you've ever like cracked a towel, okay, it's actually pretty rough on the towel. Like you can start to fray it. Like you can try it at home. Just use one of your mom's bad towels, not the good towels. Okay? But like it'll start to fray after a while. But sonic boom is the crack. Okay? It is crazy. One more time. You ready for it?
Josh is scared.
Oh, that wasn't as good. You just practice. Okay, so this guy is a professional whipper. I don't know what you call them, but he's able to like knock out, put out a candle with a whip, and then they videoed it in this special camera. Um, and so they're looking. There's a sonic boom right here. See that? See that bubble? I'll show it again. Here we go. Ready? Right there. Boom. See the bubble?
Then the moment we've been waiting for. Right, you can see the moment it breaks the sound barrier.
Get to that?
Not only is it twisting you.
Okay. So anything that goes faster than the speed of sound creates its own shockwave, creates its own sonic boom. Okay. Bullets go faster than the speed of sound. So if you talk to veterans who have been in combat, they'll tell you that you know you're close to being shot when you hear two bangs, two cracks. One from the bullet going by your head, creating its own little sonic boom. And then second from the gun going off, it took a while for the sound to reach your ears. That makes sense? Okay. And here I've got footage. You can see the shockwave on these next couple of videos. This is, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you this one first. This one just to give you an idea of how far it is away. You'll see the bullet go kind of like lobbed from here, hitting that target. That doesn't look very impressive, but watch how far it is away. Now, that's impressive. Okay, now the reason why you're able to see that shockwave, the bullet, is because you're so far away and you're just looking down it. Okay, if you're looking across it, you couldn't see it because it's going so fast. But because you're looking down it, you're able to see that. So this next video is just like this one. You're shooting something from a far distance away, but you can see the shock waves. Do you see that? Okay, and that's just a crazy distance away. It doesn't look like it from there. Okay, good at that. Last thing, popular question that comes up is like, what about Doppler radar? Does that have anything to do with Doppler effect? Yes, it does. Okay, so radar guns. Here's how those work. So radar guns send out a certain frequency. Let's say the car was parked. That radar wave would bounce off of this and bounce back at the same frequency. Okay. But if the car is moving, when it bounces off, it's going to bounce off with a higher frequency. And so the receiver of that can measure that frequency that's being bounced off, and it can calculate. It's super easy to program that, figure out exactly how fast you're going. Okay. This can also be programmed to do it going away from you, like in the rear part of the car, as it goes away from you, you can calculate how fast it's going. Okay. they use that same technology to map out weather patterns. But radar detectors just perceive so a radar is just a signal. We'll talk about this tomorrow. It's just a signal that goes out, and so in your car it's like, hey, I just picked up a radar signal, meaning it's being shot at you, like it's just from a long distance away. So the, yeah, there's a whole, and we'll talk about this tomorrow. There's tons of different frequencies. So that came up last hour. I think this is, well, I don't know. If I had to make a radar jammer, what I would do, and I don't know if this is how it is, I would have something that produces radar waves, just random. So when it gets to here, it's receiving a bunch of different things that it's not able to compute. That's what I would do. Okay. So Doppler radar, how this works is it works in the same idea, and it looks at how fast clouds or weather patterns are going. They can also see if one part of the system is going towards you and another part of the system is going away from you, and it can look for rotations. And that's like, if they see that, they're like, oh, we're under a tornado watch. Like we're looking for something, like, hey, we're on the lookout for that. So, Andrew. Like on jets and stuff. Boom. I would. I would say that, totally guessing. Yeah, it is a thing. There's probably some kind of metallic property to it. So when it bounces, and then they make it so. Remember the? Did you remember the picture of the dead room, the quiet room with sound? How it was? My guess is when it hits there, like a destructive interference somehow. I guess. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna readily tell you that too. I mean, it is possible.